that he was going to kill her. My partner, I said it to my friends, I said it to my neighbors.
Bunyan's neighbor and friend Ariel tells me had married after Bunyan moved from Scotland to pursue a legal career here, and they'd recently had a baby girl.
A huge source of stress in their relationship was he was fixated on her, very fixated. The part of a huge aspect of the verbal abuse was the things he would say about her body. When she got pregnant, I distinctly remember her telling me, he said to her, well, now I'm not going to have my muscle mama anymore, implying that she was going to get large.
The LA Times reporting that court documents contain statements made by Renteria that he killed her, failing to lose weight and threatening to messages between Bunyan and her from the past year, where Bunyan allegedly writes she's deeply unhappy.
She was trying to leave, and that's when women of domestic abuse are at the greatest risk for harm, and that's when he killed her.
Renteria is now in jail, charged with murder and mutilation of Bunyan's body. Her loved ones have set up a GoFundMe page to raise money to bring her back to Scotland to lay her to rest.
June was loved by so many people, and she didn't deserve the way that she was disrespected, and she deserves dignity in death.
Renteria's bail has been set at $4 million. His next court date is scheduled for November 18th. As for the couple's daughter, we don't know exactly where she is, but neighbors tell us that detectives told them she is safe. That is the latest from Los Feliz. Lindsay Pena, KTLA 5 News. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Lindsay, thank you for that. A U.S. veteran is being accused of he was wrongfully arrested, and he believes he's now being targeted for speaking out. This Iraq War veteran, he wrote an op-ed that was published in the San Francisco Chronicle about his arrest, issuing a warning to the American public.
And that's when he says DHS officials started accusing him of assault. KTLA's Rachel Menitoff is live in Ventura with his story. Rachel?
Cher, Rick, good evening to you both. His name is George Retes, and he says he feels as though he's being punished for publicly sharing his story. Through his attorney, he's filing a claim against the U.S. government and is hopeful it takes accountability. U.S. Army veteran George Retes describes his encounter with Immigration and Customs Enforcement as chaotic. On July 10th, he arrived at Glass House Farms in Camarillo for his regular shift as a security guard. To his surprise, he was confronted by federal agents. He began filming as they broke his car window, deployed pepper spray, and put him in handcuffs.
Did not care what I had to tell them or what I had to say or if I was a citizen or what I was doing. They just didn't care.
The husband and father of two was arrested and held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown LA for 3 days. He says he was then released and never charged. Retes enlisted in the Army at 18 and served a tour in Iraq before returning to his home in Ventura County. Fast forward to September, Retes penned this op-ed in the San Francisco Chronicle titled, "I'm a U.S. citizen who was wrongly arrested and held by ICE. Here's why you could be next." In the piece, he writes, "I served my country. I wore the uniform, I stood watch, and I believe in the values we say make us different. And yet here on our own soil, I was wrongfully detained, stripped of my rights, treated like I didn't belong, and locked away." A day later, the Department of Homeland Security tweeted the reason for the veteran's arrest was assault, that he became violent and refused to comply with law enforcement. The agency writes, he challenged agents and blocked their route by refusing to move his vehicle out of the road. Retes says this isn't accurate and there's video evidence to prove it. Why do you think DHS tweeted this statement alleging assault? Is it payback for the article?
I would just say that they're scared. All they know how to do is spin whatever story they can in their way, try to promote whatever they want.
And we reached out to DHS tonight asking for clarification about its allegations, since George was never charged with a crime and we haven't yet heard back. That's the very latest in Ventura tonight. I'm Rachel Menitoff. I'll send it back to you in studio.
All right, Rachel, thank you for that. A federal immigration officer has been relieved of his duties after a physical confrontation was caught on video inside Manhattan's immigration courthouse. And a warning to you tonight, some of you may find this video disturbing. Take a look.
I'm yours. Oh, come on, man. Come on.
You can see the footage shows the officer shoving this Ecuadorian woman to the floor shortly after her husband was taken into custody by ICE. Her children were nearby and watched all of this. The woman was hospitalized but then later released. She and her husband are in the U.S. legally and were checking in for a hearing in their asylum proceedings. Homeland Security called the officer's actions unacceptable and say that he's under investigation tonight. The incident, though, has sparked renewed scrutiny of courthouse arrests under the Trump administration.
Jimmy Kimmel Live is returning to ABC stations nationwide after both the Sinclair and Nexstar news groups have agreed to end their boycotts of the late-night show. The two broadcast media giants decided to preempt the show following Kimmel's controversial comments surrounding the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live for several days, but resumed the broadcast on Tuesday. Sinclair and Nexstar, in separate statements, announced they will air Kimmel on their ABC affiliates starting tonight.
The political fallout from former FBI Director James Comey's historic indictment continues tonight. Many wondering who's going to be next. Prosecutors allege that Comey lied about authorizing leaks to reporters, but Comey insists that he's innocent.
This as President Trump is suggesting more indictments against his political opponents will come soon. KTLA's John Finolio has the latest developments.
Good evening, everybody. Last week, President Trump called on his attorney general to go after his political enemies, including former FBI Director James Comey. Now, Comey has been indicted. And tonight, President Trump says other people may soon face charges.
Tonight, President Trump says the prosecution of former FBI Director James Comey is not about political retribution.
It's about justice, really. It's not revenge. It's about justice. It's also about the fact that you can't let this go on.
Comey was indicted on one count of making a false statement and one count of obstruction of a congressional proceeding. The allegations stem from his Senate testimony back in September 2020, when lawmakers grilled him about the FBI investigation into whether the Trump campaign was colluding with Russia during the 2016 election. The indictment accuses Comey of lying when he was asked if he had ever authorized someone at the FBI to be a source for a news report. Comey says he did nothing wrong.
I'm innocent, so let's have a trial.
The president celebrating Comey's indictment on social media, writing in part, "I'd like to thank Kash Patel and the outstanding members of the FBI for their brilliant work on the recent indictment of the worst FBI director in the history of our country, James Dirty Cop Comey."
These charges are going to be dismissed. James Comey will win in court.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries argues the president is abusing his power by directing the Justice Department to prosecute his perceived political enemies.
Donald Trump and the administration continues to weaponize the Department of Justice.
FBI Director Kash Patel firing back, denying claims the DOJ is being politicized. Writing in part, career FBI agents, intel analysts, and staff led the investigation into Comey and others. They called the balls and strikes and will continue to do so.
This is a situation we have not seen in modern times in our country. What we see here is a president who has essentially upended the idea that the Department of Justice should be independent. And we have a president exerting enormous political pressure on the Department of Justice.
This as Trump continues to push for others to be indicted.
He's not on the list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical